the speaker at the Shelby County event is a gentleman named J.D. Vance. If you haven't had a chance, he's actually only 32, 33 years old, originally from Middletown, Ohio, but a best-selling author. He was on the New York Times bestsellers list with his book, Hillbilly Elegy. And if you have not read it, it is definitely worth a read. I read it a few months ago, and J.D.'s become sort of famous. To tell an amazing story about sort of the history of folks coming up from Virginia and West Virginia and Kentucky and the Industrial Revolution and working in Ohio and some of the difficulties that group of people now face. So well worth your time to read the book, and if you get a chance to go listen to him speak next week. Thank you for what you do here in this great county, for putting up with me. As you're a member of Congress, we take that job seriously, and obviously, and appreciate the privilege you've given us to serve in the United States Congress at this important time. We're spending the whole day here today in Logan County. We started off just a few minutes ago. We were visiting with Ryan and Julie and Logan Cole, from amazing family, and the witness and testimony that this family has displayed for not just our community, but all over the country, I think, is what an amazing faith that they have. Polly and I have been friends with, we've known Rick and Deb, Logan's grandparents, for a number of years, and they have this business down in Urbana-Colpack, but all the boys and their daughter work in the business, and of course Logan, what he's went through. I was surprised just how good this young man looks. I mean, he was smiling, happy, laughing, and it's really amazing story. So that's where we started, and like I say, we're spending the whole day here in your county. Interesting time in Washington. I said the other day on the radio that I think sometimes we make the job of Congress way too difficult. Our job is pretty simple. Do what we told the voters we were going to do, and we had better do that as Republicans, or they're going to be ticked off, and appropriately so. And so one of the, we promised them a number of things. Reforming our tax code, securing our border, but one of the big things we promised the voters was that we were going to get rid of this terrible law, Obamacare. And so that's sort of front and center, and we'll really pick up next week as we go back in session. There's only one plan that's been introduced thus far, and it's a plan that we conservatives put forward last week. And what we said was real simple. Repeal it, exactly the same bill that we put on President Obama's desk a year and a half ago, put that same legislation on President Trump's desk. And then at the same time have a second bill that replaces Obamacare with a patient-centered, market-centered, family-centered model for health care. Right now we don't have that. Everything under Obamacare is basically Washington controlled, and you all know what's happened. Premium costs have went up dramatically, deductibles have went up dramatically. If you can afford insurance, you can't afford the deductible, it's a complete disaster. And I always remind folks, because we had, as the chairman mentioned, we had protesters Monday. Many of them were fired up about Obamacare, and we had a great time. And I told them, I said, God bless you, this is the way democracy works. And we have this amazing thing called the First Amendment. And one of the reasons I went so hard after the IRS is they were trying to curtail Americans' First Amendment liberties. And we should not do that, and we had a great discussion. But you need to understand, I think Americans need to understand, we all need to understand just how bad the situation is. They were talking about we need to keep Obamacare because it's going to be bad. It's already terrible. And never forget what the left told us about this law when they passed it. I call them the 9 lies of Obamacare. And think about it. Everything they told us about this law turned out to be false. Like your plan, keep your plan. Like your doctor, keep your doctor. Premiums will decline. Premiums will decline on average $2,500. Just the president's statement. The website's going to work. Remember that, right? The website's going to be secure. Emergency room visits will decline. They've actually increased. And they told us that the 23 co-ops they created were going to be this wonderful addition to healthcare and help with healthcare. 18 of them have already went bankrupt, and they did that in just 2 years. 9 different false statements they told the American people when they passed this. And now we're having people say, oh, you can't change it. You got to keep it. Are you kidding me? So we had better do what we told the voters we were going to do. And there's only one plan that, as I said earlier, that actually I think is entirely consistent with what the voters expected us and what we told them we were going to do. And it's the one we put forward last week. Dr. Paul, Senator Rand Paul, is the sponsor of the the replace legislation on the Senate side, and Congressman Sanford is the sponsor on our side.